Hola, buenos dias. I came here to show you the update of my garden. I started a garden with my friend Emma in late February, in the new moon in February, which was at the end of the month, I think. And we're here now at the almost mid-April mark in Costa Rica, and this is my first time growing here, my first time planting, doing anything green related in this region. And with my gardening and my plant mommy life, I like to be the lazy farming method, I think, which is the one straw revolution with the Japanese farmer, where he wants to do the least amount of maintenance as possible and grow the most at the same time. And so I try and kind of follow that of like, I live a pretty busy life here working and launching a project here in Costa Rica and everything that goes on with that it kind of takes a lot of my time to be doing the work that I'm doing, and I love the work that I'm doing, but gardening and growing plants and working with the plant world is a very small fraction amount of energy and time that I can invest in it. So basically what I've been doing is just scattering seeds, and I did some transplants, which I don't recommend doing in Costa Rica again, because my transplant babies were just like pretty, my sunflowers. So this is one of my transplants, which is the only very, very healthy tomato that I have. I'm very proud of this tomato and how tall it's gotten. And this was a transplant, so I transplanted tomatoes, and I transplanted a lot of things to start. Tomatoes, calendula, sunflowers, and I think there was one other thing. And I got some sunflowers survived, one tomato, and then I put 2 tomatoes in a pot, and I put 1 sunflower in a different part of the garden, and yeah, not much survived here. So this is a little update on my garden. Whew. Alright, here we go. So, we've got this beautiful tomato here. This is the compost I got. I don't do any weeding or anything. I just let it grow, let it go wild. And I've got some type of squash, I think either watermelon or cantaloupe growing here. And these are beans, which I did purposely spread these beans out around the garden because beans are a nitrogen fixer and they're really good at regenerating the soil. Super exciting to have beans in this realm, beans and tomatoes. Okay, let's go on to the rest of the garden. It's a jungle here. Welcome to my jungle garden. So the middle section of this garden didn't, here, let me grab my stand. Okay, so then here we are at the middle section of the garden, which I think gets the most amount of sun. As you can kind of tell, I'm pretty sunny right now. Okay, so now here we are in the middle section of my garden, which is the section of the garden that, yeah, this is a very interesting garden for me because we had one side here which everything I put for seed does really well in that corner. I have my one and only tomato is doing so well in this corner. Over here it's a little bit more shaded. Here in the middle section of the garden, it's not as plant. There's a little bit more of a gap, more sunshine, and I think this part of the garden gets overthrown with sunshine. So we have the sunflowers decided to just creep on the ground. So these sunflowers here are just, they're not even standing upright, they're just crouching on the ground. I've got 3 good sunflowers here. Looks like a watermelon has also started. And that's it. That's all that has survived here. None of my calendulas survived. A lot of my sunflowers, actually some of my sunflowers didn't make it. But an exciting update is that I also have papaya that I transplanted, and I forgot to mention. So we do have some papayas, a few papayas next to this tomato in the front, but none of the papayas I transplanted here worked. which is really interesting because it's almost like these plants, these sunflowers that are creeping on the ground, it's like they're making a ground cover for the soil. So these sunflowers are taking the role of, it's too sunny in this area, instead of growing up to the sun, I'm gonna grow to the side and cover the soil. So that's the story of the sunflowers in the middle section of this garden. Yeah, it's been really interesting because my papayas, everything in the back section of the garden and everything in the front section of the garden is doing really well. The middle section is like a random mix of weeds and sunflowers that are just growing long ways instead of tall. And one beautiful little watermelon baby. Don't know where that came from. Okay, so now we're gonna go to the front section of the garden. Jungly front section. Alright, welcome to my front section of the garden, which I think is my happiest section of the garden. So this is where I'm keeping my nursery, my potted plants, and this is where my tallest sunflower is. My tallest, happiest sunflower is here in the front of the garden, looking happy and healthy. And I've got one other sunflower that's tilted to the side, but then there's papayas. My healthiest, happiest papayas are here. You can see them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I've got 9 really happy papayas all around this sunflower. And it's really interesting. This is also where I keep my nursery potted plants. And it's so funny that I've got my tallest, strongest sunflower in the front of the garden with papayas surrounded around it that I transplanted. And then my tallest, strongest tomato is in the back part of the garden with papayas surrounding it. And also it has lots of beans and a type of squash, which I'm not sure what the squash is. It's going to be a surprise. But actually we're moving out. I just found out we have to move out of this house at the end of the month, so I might not know what kind of squash those are. But I'm happy to share everything else I'm growing. So this here, I have a mystery plant. I'm not sure what this plant is, but it looked really happy. And it's been slow growing, which makes me think it's a perennial. So I'm going to keep that in here. This wound up being a bunch of seeds that I had saved, like cacao, guanabana. Guanabana? No, it's guanabana. Guanabana. I keep getting that one confused. Guanabana, which is soursop. I know it as soursop from, I think, when I was in Indonesia. And maybe Hawaii. So I've got soursop, or guanabana, as my most successful start to seedling perennial plant. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 of those that are really happy and healthy. Looks like I got another one here. We've got so many beautiful things going. I also started a mango in this pot. So this is just like a random mix of a bunch of seeds from fruit that I ate that I was hoping would seed, and I got a lot of guanabanas. I'm going to keep calling them soursops. And these I'm going to plant on the land before I leave, because in Costa Rica the big planting of tree season is in rainy season, and so I'm going to be leaving to go back up to the north of America to work on my fruit farm and my friend's vegetable farm, and I'm not going to be here to take care of these plants. So I'm going to plant them on our land project, and our caretakers will hopefully take care of them, and I will see them again next season. So those are those. This is also another random mix of, I just love to save my seeds from the food that I eat and then see if it successfully turns into plants. So we've got 1 papaya and a few different cantaloupes here. And some of the cantaloupe is flowering, which is super sweet. So I'm very excited for that. And then I've got a few smaller pots. I've got a spearmint growing. I've got an aloe vera growing, because if you live in Costa Rica, you should get an aloe vera, if not for sunburns, because I usually don't get sunburned, but for any types of cuts, scrapes, random rashes, aloe vera is the way to go for anything. And then I have a similar pot to this cantaloupe one that I did the same thing. I just put random seeds in it, and I did 2 transplants of tomatoes, and those tomatoes are very small. And I've got a really successful watermelon in that one, which has been flowering as well. And that's it for my Dominicalito garden tour. Thank you for tuning in if you have watched this whole thing. This is my first time growing food in Costa Rica, and I'm really enjoying how seeds sprout and germinate so readily here. That's one of the things that gets me so excited, because in the north I sometimes have a really hard time growing things from seed. And that's my favorite way to grow, is to scatter seeds and to start from seed. So this is my first garden in Costa Rica in Dominicalito. Looking forward to the abundance of gardening that's going to happen as I build my relationship with this land and with this community over time. Yeah, well, that's my story. I hope that my mango seeds sprout. I've got 2 mango seeds, one in a pot and one in some water right now, so hopefully we'll also have some mango sprouts before I leave in a couple months. And yeah, thanks for tuning in to my gardening video again. Feels good. Feels good to be working with the land, noticing the plants, remembering the plants, and to notice that it's a co-creation and it's a relationship that we can develop over time and understanding. It's not that I'm gardening in demand of something. Like, even though I may not get fruit from any of these plants, to understand where they want to grow, to understand how they want to grow, and to develop a relationship to these plants is, I think personally, one of the most important things to start out growing, because this is going to be a lifelong journey that I'm starting here in Costa Rica of growing food. And so it takes time to slow down and really be connecting with this plant, connecting with the land, and seeing what works and what doesn't work, and not being frustrated if it doesn't work. It's okay if it doesn't work, because we are in Costa Rica and there's an abundance of food. So I'm very grateful for that, but also, you know, 20 years from now I'd love to be growing a lot of different fruit, a lot of different vegetables, a lot of different flowers. And that's just my life. That would be my reality, living with tons of happy, fruiting, abundant plants. So I'm starting it in Costa Rica this year, 2025, developing a relationship with the land and the plants here in a new way. And I'm super grateful to be here and to be on this land and with these waters and with these people. So, message of gratitude, sending a blessing your way. I hope that you find some peace in your day.